When a child fails to have adequate food between the age of 1 to 6, he has lost 27% of his IQ potentiality. So we need to begin to look at not just food, but we need to begin to look at adequate food nutrition in the country here. Okay. What has happened to us
here...
Okay,
Mr. Madlion. Mr. Madlion, thank you very much. Mr. Lajalo, we look at our population growth, and of course we are all agreed that we will require more food. But our systems are not changing, like you mentioned earlier. We have issues with irrigation. We have issues with food loss and waste. What are we doing to tidy up all that so that we will have more food as our population grows?
Government is, from what I've seen, the problem is still very much there. Still don't have infrastructure in the right area. Logistics is still lacking.
Which is where the farms are.
Excellent. We still have issue of storage, there's processing. Even the so-called markets, the farmers, the issue the farmers have is that there's even lack of access to markets. Because sometimes you produce, and the little that you have produced, you are not even able to get it to the market. Because, I mean, most of the time, they just get perished on the farm because they are unable to move it to the farm. It's a major issue. For me to get to my...
people are hungry in the cities waiting for the food to arrive.
Excellent. For people to even get to their farms, I have to buy a motorcycle to move from the city down to my farm. So it's the way it is. So it's really very... I mean, if you look at the Maputo Declaration of OAU in 2003, it was said that at least 10% of the national budget of every African country should be dedicated to agriculture. I don't think we are doing more than 2%. So if you really look at it, we are, even though government is trying their best, we can't take it away from that. We can't take that away from them. But we are not doing enough. We are not producing enough. And even the food that we are producing is getting spoiled. Like Riley said, the so-called Pt.2, we are the second largest producer of tomato in the world. And half of this stuff perish. So if you really look at it, we've not done so much. I remember government was doing some silo projects all over the country at some point. It was in all the states of the Federation. It was under Nigerian Food Reserves Agency then. I don't know what have become of those silos. The essence of those silos were majorly for storage purpose. Look at it. It's not even, I'm not even thinking the way I'm even looking at it now. You know, and our agriculture is rain-fed, like you rightly said. Because it's rain-fed, it doesn't give room for farmers. I mean, is subject to climatic change. So once you farm and is, for instance, just November, this last November, a lot of people who grew maize ended up losing their whatever because the rain wasn't regular. So they lost the whatever. It's not going to encourage you to go into farming the next farming season because I mean if you have poured money into agriculture and you are not, so it's the issue of food insecurity is looming. So the ones we see on TV that government says and all that, you need to be there. He who feels it knows it.
Mr. Lajalo, it doesn't look like rocket science to anybody who's listening to you that there's a population of 200 million waiting to be fed. The food is being grown in the farm. So the issue now is getting that food to where people are going to pay you money for it. People are prepared to go to the farms and work, except that they're being discouraged by waiting for rain, and then when they produce the food rots because they can't get the food to the people.
Yes.
So what is happening to investment in that area to make sure that all these problems are solved?
I don't think...
Your money will be, you'll get your money back because there are 200 million mouths waiting to be fed.
Investment, I think the government, the private sector-led agriculture is what we should be looking at now. But you need to also create an enabling environment. I'll give you an instance. A lot of people want to go into... I want to make it from my own point of view. My first experience on the farm, basically, I needed the farmers to be telling me what to do. The old farmers, because, I mean, if you are going to a settlement, there is need for you to have Agric extension officers. You probably see them along those settlements. that should be able to put you through and say, these are the hybrid seedlings that you should these high-yield seedlings that you should plant and all those things. Those things are not happening. So there is no, it's not really making it worthwhile for people to even put their money on the farm to say they want to do this business. So it's really a major problem. So I will.
Okay, Mr. Madeleine, when you were talking, you gave some figures about the fact that we have a growing population and there's not enough food to feed them. Mr. Olajolo talked about the need to change our way of doing things. You mentioned the rice pyramids. Let me pick that up in particular. But there's that thing, that scheme, the Anchor Borrower scheme, that's supposed to have increased the amount of rice produced, that's according to the federal government. Do you think that's not good enough? Is that not part of the initiatives to move out of this situation we find ourselves?
Yes, the Anchor Borrowers program was a well thought out program, but badly implemented, which of course it still comes back to when nations who accept where they have failed will always do better. But where people get very skeptical about criticism, then they remain where they are. Anchor Borrowers programs was a program to jumpstart agricultural activities, but a lot of things were not put in place. It still comes back to the institutional failure of it here. We have the CBN direct funding to farmers. Now, don't forget that we've not done adequate soil compatibility with our input in this country for the past 14 years. Seedlings, our seed councils has not been able to look at the seedlings compatible to soil, weather, and all that. Agriculture is science, it's not politics. Now, all this all put together, the ratio is 285 Nigerian farmers to 1 extension officers. We don't have extension officers anymore. So when you are doing such programs under the Anchor Borrowers programs, they have rudiments, global practice anywhere in the world that must follow. This is today, Bangladesh is out of poverty just from garment and cotton. There are countries that do not have the kind of technology that Nigerians have, that do not have our resources, yet they are doing very, very well. Where have we gotten it wrong in this place? I don't want to go into much complaints. Is that we do things the same old way and expect new results. We have an institution called the Bank of Agriculture today. I stand to be corrected today that institution is not digitized as I speak with you. If you open an account in the Bank of Agriculture today with the headquarters in Kaduna, they have branches. No Agric institutions have the network of branches they have. But they have a problem of, are they going to report to the Federal Minister of Agriculture or they're going to report to the Federal Minister of Finance? Who do I actually take control of? And the man who takes the biggest broth is the biggest hit, is the local farmers. So when you don't have an extension officer, which is the life wire of agriculture, when you do not have proper information dissemination, being disseminated to the farmers, then you have post-harvest losses. When you do not have mechanization attached to agricultural policies, then you have low productivities. When you have low productivities, then effort do not make it bankable. Do you know that out of the 16 or 17 popular accepted products in Nigeria today, if you put them in a scale of preference, and what the bank call business development, they will tell you it's not profitable, it's not bankable, because all our financial institutions are operating on short-time funds, and you cannot use short-time funds to go and finance long-time funds, which is agriculture. And as I speak with you, most of us that is into this business, we are going through difficulties. Debt wants to sink us down because we have not yet had the support, adequate support, that is truly to the farmers. But what keeps us on in it is the passion that we have about in this business. But are we doing well? The answer is no. Now, what is being said, we have an institution here in Nigeria called the Commodity Exchange. The Commodity Exchange does not even know what we do.
Okay.
No farmer should have business with the market. You should have those who control, who provides you the voucher and then all that there.
Okay, we'll take a moment. When we come back, we'll look at you and Mr. Olajolo weighing on this issue of no support. How, even with the Ministry of Agriculture, how is it that we have extension departments in the Ministry of Agriculture, but we don't have extension officers? We'll be back in a moment. Please don't go away.